Hello everyone and welcome back to Sprout and Build. My name's Tiana, I'm your local horticulturalist. In this video today we're talking about the seeds I've already started in early February and what I'm starting in early March. Hopefully you can learn some tips and tricks along the way. We'll also dive into my hydroponic journey. I have some kratky lettuce, air garden lettuce behind me, and a hydroponic tower that I just got set up. So I'm going to give you an update on that. So let's get into it. I'm zone 5 and my goal is to grow enough vegetables to be able to have salads, fresh salsa, and do batches of chili and tomato sauce this year. So the seeds I'm starting are based on what I'm looking to harvest out of my small space garden. So with fresh salsa and tomato sauce, you need lots of onions. So I've started these. These were started February 4th. We already got some great growth on these. These are the Walla Walla and Blush onions. I'm a long day onion grower, so those varieties were best for me. Depending on your zone, you're going to want to check if you're a long day, intermediate, or short day onion grower. A Google search will get you guys the answer. Now I'm going to be doing a haircut on these onions. They're quite long and I'm going to be transplanting them up today. But so far I am very happy with the growth on these. I was sick for a week and then I went on a week-long vacation. So I've been a little absent on my plants. So I'm actually pretty impressed how everything has done so far. If you'll remember, I started the Fresca strawberry seeds. I started these February 4th as well. They needed cold stratification, so they were put into the fridge in this seed tray in a bag with moisture. They stayed in there for 3 weeks. I brought them out last Sunday, and they went ahead on and were placed on the seed mat. And I already have some really great germination coming on these. So my goal with the strawberry is to fill up my strawberry clay pot that I have outside, but I am going to also be planting some of these in this hydroponic tower if that does well for me, and they're going to go outside this summer. So reflecting on it, I should have actually planted some of these in my Rockwell cubes, but you live and learn. So I'm probably going to be in the next few videos taking these out of the soil and trying to transplant them into Rockwell in preparation for their journey into the hydroponic tower. But so far, these strawberries are off to a great germination. I also started parsley because parsley does take about 20 days to germinate, and it's a slow grower. So if you remember that video, I was very surprised that some of my seeds were quite old. I think some of them were going back to 2018 on the parsley and the cilantro, and some of them are pelleted. I had thought that the pelleted seeds would actually be a little bit more protected, but when I looked up what the pelletization material is made out of, it's actually clay. So I'm not sure that these are going to germinate, and I might need to reorder my parsley seeds, but I'm going to go ahead and give them a little bit more time. I might dive in there. I can see one of the pelletized seeds has already cracked, so I might get germination on these, but I'm just going to hold off, like I said. I went ahead and started some cilantro. It's too early to start cilantro for your garden. I'm just doing this to have in my kitchen in front of my window because I love cilantro. So I'm just going to start harvesting this and just cutting it back and keeping it low growing. So I'm going to be transplanting that up today. So those are the seeds I've started based on my garden goals and my zone and my last frost date. Now, for this week, first week in March, I'm going to go ahead and get started on all of my tomato seeds. I have cherry tomatoes, slicer tomatoes, and Roma tomatoes. I am still a bit away from my last frost date, so it's very important that if you're starting your tomatoes early, that you get a fan on them and you keep them right under the light so that they don't get leggy. As well, I'm going to be starting my peppers and my jalapeno peppers, and I'm going to go ahead and get started on my dill as well. So let me show you guys transplanting, and let me guys show you some tips on the tomatoes and peppers, and then I'll give you guys an update on the hydroponics. So if you're thinking about vegetable gardening, this is the first week in March, what you could start is any of your herbs that have woody stems. So your rosemary, your lavender, your thyme, your oregano, and your sage would all be great ones to start. If you're thinking about growing leeks or celery, You would also want to start those and eggplants, and then any of your brassicas, so your broccoli, your cauliflower, your cabbage. Those would all be great seeds to be starting at this moment in time. So this is the seed soil mix that I have for seed starting. It's Pro Mix HP High Porosity. I got it in a bale at Rona. I didn't get specifically a seed starting mix because the seeds I'm starting aren't that fancy and they can do with a general purpose mix. But so far I found this really good. There's great reviews on it. So it's the Pro Mix HP with mycorrhiza. So I'm going to go ahead and fill up some of my seed trays for the tomatoes and peppers and to transplant up the onions. So in terms of soil, just remember guys, you want it to be able to form a ball, which it's not, and not drip out moisture. So I do need a little bit more water in the soil for it to be ready to go into the trays. So let's give it a mix up. All right, let's give it a mix up here. So this is what we're looking for. It's forming a ball. There's a little bit dripping out, so I'll just mix it up a little bit more. So there we go. Nice ball, no water dripping. That's the perfect type of moisture content we need. So as I said, this is for the tomatoes and the peppers to get started. I'll just hand tamp each of these down and then refill. I found that this mix is quite good. It does have a few little larger pieces to it, but you can just pick those out. This is for the cilantro. I'm gonna pot that up. And then for the onions, what I will do is just fill kind of half the tray and then fill up that way. Okay, so we're gonna transplant the onions. Now, a few pointers here. So you don't need to plant onions in individual cells. You can do them in a tray. Sometimes I'm extra and I like to do things like this. Onion roots are very coarse and it's really easy to separate them. As well, these have already started growing. These don't have cotyledons and true leaves. So I've gone ahead and already given this a little bit of fertilizer. You don't need much to get them started. And then in terms of cutting the tops, just a few inches off is just fine. A little bit of a haircut. I'm going to give those a taste too and see if they have anything. This will also make it a little bit easier to transplant. Let's see here. So to pop these out of the tray, we can see the bottoms have the holes in here. So what we will do is just holding on to the top, press it out with the pencil, and then go ahead and get it placed in the pot. Now, hindsight, I probably should have started these in a tray, but that's fine, guys. As you're going to hear me say a lot, you live and learn. So some of these are a little bit smaller than others. I didn't get full germination in all of them, so I did go back and reseed some of these. So that's why we definitely have different sizes. So let me give you an example of a really nice big coarse root. This one looks like it. So you guys can see there, it's got some nice coarse roots. It's hitting the bottom. This is a great time to be transplanting these onions out. So I'm just going to place them in and then go ahead and fill up all of the soil. Yeah, that's some nice healthy roots there. So you can definitely tell which ones were started earlier and which ones weren't. These guys are all going to be very happy getting a little bit more room. There's 2 in this one. So this is a good example of being able to kind of pull apart the roots and for them to still survive. So that's the example of the planting them in trays, that those can come apart because they're so coarse, they're going to do well. All right, one more for this tray, and then I'll need another tray to get going. All right, and tuck in all around it. Yeah, a tray would have been easier, guys. What am I doing here? All right, well, I'm going to pause this up and get finished, okay, guys? All right, so I got them mostly transplanted up. They're a little bit wonky, some of them, so I'm just going to straighten some of them up and then go ahead and give them a water and get them back under the light. You don't want to plant them too deep, right? Onion bulbs do need a little bit of, I say planting proud, I think would be the correct term. Yeah, so those look good. Once I give it a water, that soil will settle, and if I need to come back and fill it in, I will. But those are the onions transplanted up. I'm going to go ahead and do the same to the blush ones. The good thing is I can already tell the difference between the Walla Walla and the blush because I'm already starting to see some of the red on the bottom of the roots. So now I can identify them as we go. So that's the onions transplanted up. And let's just tidy up here, soil. So we'll do 2 rows of each, plant 2 seeds in each cell. So we'll do Ruby Goddess, so RG. And we'll do the Sweet Million. Oh no, so then we'll do the San Marzano, so I'll put SM, and then we'll do the cherry tomatoes as C. So SM for San Marzano and cherry. And then we'll do D for dill, and then we'll do jalapenos J, and then peppers P. Yeah, okay, perfect. There we are. So the dill, I'm just testing this to see if these seeds are still viable because they are pelleted and they are old. I do love having dill each year for like roasted potatoes. But when my kids were younger and they were gardening with me in the first year we grew dill, we got a caterpillar on them eating it up, and we absolutely loved watching that. It was a black swallowtail caterpillar, and at that time we had already reared caterpillars inside, so we had all the kind of tools to get that done. So we brought them in, gave them the habitat, they did their little cocoon, and we released them, which was amazing for kids to do if you're a parent. So that's the one positive thing with dill and growing it with kids, is that you may get that black swallowtail coming into your garden. So that's the dill. So with all the rest of these peppers and tomatoes, you definitely want to get them on the heat mat. I've already made sure I have enough space on my heat mat so that I can do the strawberries with the tomatoes and peppers. Oh, there's only 10 seeds, guys. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh. There's one stuck in the corner there. Where's 1? I'm just gonna do 1 seed per tray. 2, 3, 8. And if I have too many of these, I'm gonna share with my family. And I'm definitely gonna make sure that I am collecting seeds for the year previous now that I've done these. So that's the Ruby Goddess. I wanted to do the Sweet Million next. How many seeds? Someone only had 10. This says 25. Oh, what do we think? Should we do 1 or 2? I'll just do 1, and I'll fill up the ones that don't germinate. because I definitely don't need 8 plants for the size of my garden. But like I said, I'll share these with family and friends. It's always nice to get a plant when you least expect it. And I do have some of these left over for last year, but again, I'll definitely want to collect all these seeds, guys. And then the San Marzano. A lot more seeds in here. This one came with 35. I'll just stick with the 1 though per tray since it's kind of what I've been doing here. All right, that's done. So next week I'm going to be planting my broccoli and my scallions. Okay, so dill was there, so these are jalapenos. I'll probably only need 1 jalapeno plant. These things get huge, but I might try and dry them or do like a smoked chipotle pepper, smoked jalapeno pepper, chipotle. Am I doing that right, guys? How many seeds? 10 seeds. This does not look like 10 seeds at all. This looks like 5. What's happening here? So all of these seeds, I'm going to be harvesting seeds for next year. Jalapenos, guys, who doesn't love a stuffed jalapeno pepper? Jalapeno cheese bread, dice them up, throw them in chilies, throw them in a fresh salsa. Like, you cannot go wrong with a jalapeno. I wonder how spicy they're going to be. I don't mind spice. I can tolerate a lot of a jalapeno. I can't go to like a habanero though. All right, this has 10 as well. So I'll just do 1 per. I had wanted to share with you guys what I'm planning for my raised gardens, but I've just not had the time with not feeling well. So I'll share what I'm doing maybe next week with that when I'm doing my broccoli and scallions. Because I want to build raised gardens and I want to have cold frames so that I can put all of my stuff into. Okay, so we got all of our seeds in our little holes and we'll just come along and fill those up, and then I will give these a water and straight on the heat mat, and once they germinate under the light, once they have true leaves and have gone past the cotyledons, I will fertilize. I will just use my Arrow Garden fertilizer just to get them going. But once they go outside, I'm going to be definitely amending the tomatoes and peppers with different amendments and different fertilizers to get them the most optimal growth. All right, that looks great, guys. So I'm going to pause it there and finish up my onions and check out with you guys. I wanted to give you guys a close-up of the strawberries, so here we go. See, we've got some pretty great germination to start. My goal is to get 1 seed per cell. Looks like I've done that pretty well. So great start. I believe I got 50 seeds and I believe I filled up all of these cells. So there's 48. So we'll see what happens. So let's do a little bit of an update on the kratky lettuce and the Arrow Garden and the hydroponic tower. So what you'll see is that I have 3 lettuces here, all of different size and different looks. Obviously, this is the worst looking one here. So kratky is kind of a set it and forget it, and I have definitely forgotten it. As I said, I was away for 2 weeks. So what we can see here is some nutrient deficiency, uneven watering, and I think that's really the issues with these lettuce. So obviously these 2 I'm happy with so far. We can see in the arrow garden here, I do have the other romaine. So this is the Coastal Star, and this is a pelleted lettuce that I got from West Coast Seeds. So in terms of size, they're very similar. Obviously, this one is the worst looking one. When I was looking at the jar, I'm noticing that it looks like some of the fertilizer did not get mixed well. So that's a learning lesson for me to do a better mixture on the fertilizer. So this was a 750 milliliter jar, and I believe I put 3 milliliters of my AeroGarden fertilizer to start. And since I've done that, I haven't touched them. Now, once I got home from my vacation, I did top up this one with water. I just wanted to see what the difference would be. But I do notice there's not as much kind of mixture in the bottom. So I'm feeling that the fertilizer mix was the reason I'm seeing the difference here. And this one I haven't touched at all. So far the roots look healthy in all of them. They're very nice and white. One thing I had kind of mentioned is that you should always be in tune with your plants and not your systems. So when I look at these lettuces, I can see that we definitely have leaf curl. We definitely have some leaves going out. So leaf curl in and out is a deficiency in fertilizer and also maybe some uneven watering, which is definitely true in this case. And I can tell here that I have a little bit of a phosphorus and calcium, copper deficiency with some of the coloring on my leaves. So I'm just going to go ahead and give them all 3 more milliliters of my AeroGarden fertilizer and top up the water. When you're topping up your water in the kratky jars, you do want to use room temperature water. You don't want to shock those roots. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So let's get some fertilizer in these. So we're going to take that out. And then I already have 1, 2, and 3. And like I said, I need to make sure that that's mixed up a little bit better. I think that's where my issues are. And we're just going to get up to the roots there and a little mix. I have checked the pH on all of these, and they are in that 5.5 to 6 range. But once I've fertilized these and let these sit for a bit, I'll just come back and double check that my pH is still in the appropriate range. So these white jars are 3D printed, and I printed those off Thingiverse for this kratky method. These were all started in Rockwell, and they all have the clay pebbles or the leca balls with them. So that one's done. I did that one the other day. This one needs a touch up. So we can see it's still beautiful roots there. Everything's, oh, shoot. Everything's doing pretty well. I need more hands. All right, give that a mix. And the water. So like I said in my last video, or tell you guys now, this is kind of a great experiment to see the AeroGarden and the kratky and the hydroponic tower kind of all going at the same time. All the seeds were started, so we're definitely going to see a difference in how each of those produces plants. So that's an update on the kratky jars. I'm happy to see that some are doing well, and I'm happy to see that some are doing poorly, so you guys can see the difference between kind of a healthy, happy lettuce and an unhappy lettuce. So I just brought up the AeroGarden so you guys can see that a little bit closer. So what I have in here is, that's the Coastal Star pelleted romaine. So we can see it's very similar in size and shape to that. So I'm pretty happy with the way that's doing. Right here we have the Selenite version of leaf lettuce. Obviously this is beautiful. I've already harvested a bunch of the outer leaves when I came home on Sunday. So this is off to a great start. And then over here we have the Prism Kale, which absolutely looks beautiful. So this Arrow Garden, guys, these things are wonderful. Very happy with how it's working out so far. And this is the one that has 6 in it. And once I use them, I do go ahead and 3D print my own little cartridges for them. That way I don't have to buy the Arrow Garden particular plugs. SpongeBob. Okay, so I'm going to bring you guys closer to give you an update on the hydroponic tower. I'm hoping the lighting and the angle here is okay. So we can see the hydroponic tower is doing okay. I've had a few problems. So the first problem I've had is the tube that attaches to the disperser has actually fallen off for quite a few hours at a time. So the lettuce wasn't getting adequate moisture. So I went ahead and used some plumber's tape around the attachment point there, which seems to have helped improve the pipe not falling off the attachment point. The other problem I had is I went to move it and I knocked the whole thing down. I did kill one lettuce, two lettuces actually when I knocked it down. We'll also notice that some of these plants are much larger than the other ones. So I'm still trying to get my lighting correct on this. It is under the Agilex K180 light that I bought off Amazon. It is a 200 watt multi-Kelvin light, which should be bright enough for this, but because it's a circular item, I'm just trying to get that placement under the light correct. So this is why some of these are suffering. So I definitely saw some smaller plants on one side, but since it fell over and I had to replant them all, it's all mixed up. In terms of the lettuce, it does look great. I definitely have some in and out leaves, which is maybe indicating a nutrient deficiency. And it could also indicate some improper watering, which would be true of what happened. So this is a 20-liter bucket. It has about 19 liters of water in it. When I first put in the fertilizer, I think that was February 16th, I put in 75 milliliters. I haven't touched it since. And the water level would have been up to about here, and looking at this, the water level is about there. So I'm going to go ahead and refill the water, and based on my calculations, I'm going to add 35 milliliters of fertilizer to this and monitor. Overall, it's a great start, and I'm just going to keep learning how to use this system. So that's an update on this, and what I have in here is the Coastal Star pelleted lettuce and the kale. I did have one of the leaf lettuces in here, but I think it's one of them that took to the accident. All right, so that's the update on the hydroponic tower. So guys, I think that's a wrap. We have our onions potted up. We have our tomatoes and peppers started. We've looked after the kratky lettuce, and hopefully that's going to pop back up and look a little bit better for us next week. Our strawberries are out on the heat mat. Our cilantro's potted up, and we're keeping an eye on that very old parsley seeds. Hydroponic tower has a new batch of fertilizer and more water. And yes, I'm going to test the pH on all of my lettuces once I'm done here and adjust as necessary. And if I'm adjusting the pH, I am using household vinegar to bring it down. And then if I need to bring it up, I have a pH up solution that I can use. What else? I think that's it. So next week I'm getting started on broccoli and scallions. So I'll have a few tips on starting those seeds. If you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And hopefully I'll dive into kind of my garden setup and my garden plan for next week, but we'll see how this goes. Thanks for watching, guys.